All right, thank you for staying with us. So the Special Brigade of the Nigerian Army has killed scores of Lakurawa bandits, destroyed several camps, and also recovered weapons in Sokoto, Kebbi, Zamfara, and Katsina states. The theater commander of Operation Fasanyama, Major General Oluyinka Shoyele, noted that the successes were recorded through fresh onslaughts launched against Lakurawa bandits that led to the destruction in their camps. Joining us in the studio to discuss more on this is International Security Risk Management Consultant, Commodore Abimbola Ayuba, retired. Good morning.
Good morning.
Compliments of the
Thanks
season.
for having me.
You're welcome. Now, let's talk about how strategic and swift this move by the military is at decimating this group.
Thank you very much, Veronica. I think I'm very pleased to also observe that the Army's reaction has been quite timely and conducted in good measures. Following the declaration of the Chief of Army Staffs that he was going to ensure, particularly that the Lakurawas were going to be disseminated and probably eliminated from Nigeria's security equation. I think this recent action is quite commendable, and of course, we think that it should be sustainable, and also that Nigerians in all our ramifications should support the military in achieving its ultimate goal of securing peace and therefore enhancing the welfare and security of Nigerian people.
Well, so as we congratulate the Nigerian Army, the military, the security architecture as a whole, we know that destroying insurgent camps is usually something that we often see, but then they always find ways to regroup themselves. So what message or what advice would you want to give the military in order to be able to sustain this gain so that it won't be just a temporary setback for the terrorists?
Yeah, thanks, Ibrahim. The thing is that the Army needs to sustain its intelligence gathering mechanisms, particularly working with local communities, local traditional heads. In fact, people, especially border communities, where most of these people crisscross and hide at will. Once this is sustainable, and I think there's an effort to ensure, especially monitoring people, these groups on market days, where they are more active, where they try to force taxes out of traders, and also on special days where they try to preach, particularly on Jumat days, and also their agents that work with them, because they don't work alone. Once this is sustainable and then you are able to pinpoint precisely what they are doing, it will be very easier, and even by collaboration with our neighbors at the borders, Benin Republic is becoming an active hideout for these terrorists, especially this Lakurawa group, hiding more around the Borgu area, which binds Nigeria with the Republic of Benin. Yeah. So this is what I think should be done, and they should not relent in maintaining focus on this particular group until they are totally eliminated.
All right. Now, what do you make of the military's handing of information with regards to this group in particular? There are those who have raised concerns as to how information is put out there. If you look at sometimes the paper this morning, the Punch newspaper at the downstream, it said Lakurawa Defense Headquarters steps up intelligence gathering plans and special operation. There are those who have been raising concerns that the military shouldn't be putting out these kinds of messages because it's giving, the terrorists strategies to know how they can, also defend themselves against every strategy the military is putting forward.
Yeah, thank you, Veronica. That's a very good point. We are in an information age, and of course, information warfare is a very, very important aspect of today's warfare. And sometimes some things we put out in the media could actually be in order to draw out your adversary. Sometimes those information may not be actually up to date. They just put it out there to give an impression that this is what is happening, whereas other activities are going on. The real-time activities will not normally be publicized in this manner. Well, like we say, sometimes out of enthusiasm, some of our public relations managers also tend to overdo things. For instance, anything intelligent is supposed to be done in absolute confidentiality and with a high, utmost secrecy. But notwithstanding, I do know that sometimes there's what we call disinformation, or you just put this out, just to create that environment of panic in the camps of the adversary.
So this information will create panic?
Well, I have not read through the details, but right. I know that you can put, if I say I'm putting out, I'm taking certain actions against you, you are bound to take certain actions that maybe you were inactive, you were frozen before I put out that information. If I put out that information, you are likely to unfreeze and begin to dissipate. If you had been hiding, you will try to move in certain directions.
Wouldn't that make the fight difficult?
Well, if you are ready for, it's like when you want to smoke out rodents from their holes. Sometimes you have to take some actions that will make the rodents to actually come us from their holes. Yes. And then you will be prepared to take them on. If there are 6 rodents, you're able to kill 3. You must have, you will praise yourself, at least for that particular moment. Then you now think of new strategies you adopt to get the remaining 3. So this is sometimes you disperse your enemies. By so doing, you are able to dissipate their energies, and then you are able to dismember them to the extent that their command and control structure will have been deeply affected for the period in which that operation is sustainable.
Right. Still talking about information, there are 3 elements to this now. Looking at the Nigerian army, the terrorists, and then the media, where we stand in between both of them. So we are obliged to be socially responsible in terms of disseminating, in terms of reporting, stories and bringing happenings to the knowledge of our audience. So sometimes we just talked about the Nigerian army releasing some of these information strategies, via the media. Again, the media has also been criticized for reporting the activities of the terrorists because they believe that it also engenders them to, be bold enough for people to say, yes, we are instilling terror in people through this information being released via the media. How do you think we should balance information in terms of gathering and disseminating this information to the entire people, especially the activities of the terrorists themselves whenever they instill terror in the minds of people?
Thank you very much, Ibrahim. Media operation is key to any security, long-term strategic security operations. We believe that the media is quite important to any form of operation, more so security operations, battle space control, and issues like counter-terrorism and all that. Because you must let the people know what you are doing. You must give the people some semblance of confidence that something is being done about the insecurity situation that have plagued them, and encourage them to also provide information to the military and also the media. The media also in its investigative role has a responsibility to also either discreetly or overtly investigate issues concerning this. But I know that the responsible media organization that has very, very vital elements of information that might be damaging to operations will find the right channel to escalate to the required organizations. But where they cannot find the way up there, it is good. It will be good for them to also timely release the information in order to jumpstart or kickstart certain activities that will nip those specific set of operations or information that will influence the operations that is being conducted at that material time. So media operation is key. It's also key within the military. Because sometimes what we also see, these weekly briefings, sometimes they've come to, it's becoming too often. And then you virtually, what happened last week, this week, sometimes are repeated. And then sometimes these terrorists too, they are very media savvy.
Yes.
And they are techy. They are able to eavesdrop and they are able to track and analyze information. So sometimes I would suggest that some essential elements of information should not be released on pages of newspapers if they can be avoided. And also, they also have to ensure that where certain information is not available to the military, all the service chiefs are available. And they also, particularly the current set of leaders, are quite media friendly. I know that the CDS, for instance, was on Arise, I think, discussing a lot of issues about this same insecurity in Nigeria. So they are reachable and they are approachable. And a phone call to them, I'm sure, will help to unravel some of these things.
Now, you mentioned something that I want to latch on, which is the fact that they have to publicize what they are doing to build trust with the people and then also boost the confidence of the people in them. But from your perspective, what you have seen over time, is that really the outcome? Because it's the same people that they are trying to build trust with that they're raising these concerns that publicizing the activities of groups like this is actually giving these people that ability to be more daring in their approach to activities. It's like the oxygen that fuels the activities. So that perhaps we need to be more careful and strategic at this point.
Thank you very much, Veronica. You are quite right. One of the things the terrorists benefit from, they cash out on free media publicity. And that is, they are stuck in trade. So when something happens and they are being publicized, they don't have to pay a dime to get this publicity out, and it inspires them. They celebrate in their camps, and they are also able to get current information which they can analyze and then build up on. And this is why sometimes there's need to not to publicize. If you see on other climes in the US, for instance, all these terrorist activities, they don't give glory to, they don't even name some of these assailants. They don't give their data, they don't, so that others
Why do you call them assailants? That's what the West usually use, assailant. Yeah. Terrorists, they should be terrorists, not assailants.
Yes, you see, well, anything from the definition of terror, anything that creates fear, want, or need in someone constitutes a breach. And then when you fear for your life especially, and you know somebody who is the assailant, is carrying enough power, when I talk of power, weapons, intelligence to deal with you, he becomes a terrorist. And of course, that's exactly why there's a transition between being an assailant
so the
and
reason why
the
actually
actions that you take make you a terror. If you inflict action on a person and that person, other than the normal threshold of policing, and you are not even an officer of the law, and then you threaten people and you assert yourself on people. Those actions are, you even call people on the phone and bully them. These are things, ingredients of a terrorist actions, and then people are bound to respond to them in different ways.
But has the publicity really built trust with the people and confidence that the military has been looking at achieving?
Thank you very much. Publicity comes in many ways, print, electronics. Sometimes we go on ground to talk to community leaders. Sometimes by dropping leaflets from aircrafts into communities that are unreachable and difficult to reach. And they are able to, people are able to pick up these leaflets and read in their own language what actions have been done about insecurity in their area. But when you also look at the areas where most of these terrorists operate, they are quite remote, and the people there are not really people who read English the way we see it, except it's been translated to them. So that's why sometimes in operations too, we tend to use translators, especially through the religious hub, especially through messaging during Jumat's prayers, during Sunday services, and they are able to reach out to these faith actors to also help to disseminate such actions. And I think by so doing, information is percolates to where it is needed often. But it's difficult in our times because one is expensive, two, the attitude of the people, the culture, so many other factors will kick in. Because if you have a trusted leader in that community, and after all this has been said, he just needs to tell them not to listen to the army, for instance, that they are liars. And that's the end of all that collective action.
That brings to the fore, because in areas like Lakurawa, insurgents often exploit the strained relationship between the people and the military and the local communities, actually. So has the army been able to do a lot to address this challenge of creating local trust and cooperation during some of these operations?
Well, the army might be in a position to give clearer information as to what they are doing right now. Well, I mean, from my own perspective, as somebody who has practiced in this field and I still continue to monitor events, confidence building is key. In every military deployment, you have a whole gamut of information mechanism that go with it. Go before the arrival of troops. There's a lot of media operations that will have preceded the arrival of troops in those communities. And of course, while the operation is going on, when they need to evacuate certain areas, and the people will be told and shepherded into safe havens. Most times, the way information is managed also will sometimes depend on the fluidity or complexity of a specific operation and how difficult the opposition is in opposing incursions or efforts of military into that specific space.
All right. It seems we have to end our conversation here now. I can only wish the military the best with regards to efforts it's putting in to build confidence and trust, and also in decimating the activities of terrorists across the country, whatever the group might be as it is. But we must thank you, International Security Risk Management Consultant, Commodore Abimbola Ayuba, retired, for your time on the program.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
All right. Despite the Supreme Court's ruling on financial